have made it to Stu and the Nun, an online radio show that looks to inform, educate, and hopefully make you laugh. Stu and the Nun is a show focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room via our Facebook page and on Twitter. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun. But tonight we have a special show. It is Stu and the Colton Smith MMA. Yeah, we got our good buddy Colton Smith. He didn't know what to expect on that one. My job tonight is to make him spit something out of his nose live on camera.
It all worked.
We right out the gate. We couple seconds in, we made it happen. Hey, I want to welcome everyone. As you know, our show is sponsored by Enlisted 9 Fight Company, and Mr. Enlisted 9 right here. Half of that organization is to my right, your left, or either way. But I want to welcome Colton. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm real excited about this tonight. I think we have a lot of awesome topics to talk about. A lot of stuff right now going on in the world. And man, it feels like we're right in the middle of it, and I'm excited to give my 2 cents about it.
That's all. We really appreciate that. We know, in your current position and job and stuff, it's easy for me and Toby to give our 2 cents or 4 cents and whatever wants to hear it. So we're going to be sensitive. If there's something you feel comfortable or not comfortable, you just say it. I totally get it. Until that day you get that indefinite ID card. I mean, that's a day you can turn on the spigot. So I get that.
I'll definitely be smart and calculated about my answers, but make no doubt about it, I will be candid.
Yeah, and for the ladies in the audience, if you look over Colton's left shoulder, got some skin going back there. Yeah, man, from back in the MMA days there. Well, still in the MMA days, but that was early on, right?
Yeah, that was my first UFC portrait that the UFC made up for me to hand out, and it was the very first one I signed, so my wife framed it up. She threw it in here. She made all this amazing stuff. Came home from work one day and she put up all my stuff. If not, it'd still be stacked up in a corner like a bunch of the other stuff I've gotten recently.
Yeah, the I Love Me wall there is already up and running strong. But she picked some good stuff. She picked things I'm sure that were sentimental or had meaning it's all special, but probably stuff that really stood out for one reason or another.
Deployments, gifts and stuff like that from different soldiers and leaders I've had and people that have meant a lot to me and different times of my life, winning the Ultimate Fighter, business stuff, soldiering, everything in between.
Yeah, I don't see the AAM for most cleanest room of the barracks or anything up there yet. That hasn't made it.
Oh, definitely not.
There you go. Yeah, it's funny. A couple weeks ago, Toby and I kind of showed kind of our military wall. I think you put up a photo on Instagram of our little military collections behind us. I have my little wooden Humvee I got for Christmas with a 50 cal on it, and some of my America's Army figurines and some stuff up there. So he kind of has he's put up a picture of his coin rack. So it's kind of nice that you had that behind you. It kind of gives our viewers a little bit of a taste of what's there. But man, again, so excited to have you. It kind of makes sense. I don't know why we've never had you as a guest host. Besides that, you're like really busy, but it makes sense. I mean, you're a sponsor of the show, and you've got skin in the game, if you would, and you bring a unique, fresh, current perspective and all that good stuff. So, again, very excited and good to have you here. Too bad Toby can't be here, but he is with our good friend Chad Robichaud and out there with the Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. So, every once in a while, Toby and I have to miss the show. Next week, we actually both are. But it is, for this one, it's a good reason. I mean, he's out there doing good stuff, doing what we all still do, and those that run in our circles, which is still caring about soldiers, whether you know them or not, whether they were in your branch or not, whether you served with them or not. we all still look out after each other, and that's exactly what Toby's doing tonight for sure.
That's right. We miss you, brother. Wish you were here, but I'm happy to fill your seat. Hopefully, some big shoes to fill tonight, but we can get after it, and I'm excited.
And he has more hair than you. Not that it didn't used to be that way, but he is quite sporting quite the do. So he would be out of regulation if he was still
that Austinite haircut. He's definitely embracing his inner Austinite now.
That is.
I don't know if he's turned fully into a hipster model. He's going to have the man bun coming up with the merce, but hopefully totally lose Toby there.
I won't let that happen. I will cut that. I will cut that off. I will bring out. I will crank out one of my Gerbers or Benchmades or something. That will not happen. I just can't let them do. Friends don't let friends grow man buns. I think that's
right.
That's a hashtag now or something. But yeah, so I am going to announce right now, since we're on a show, I want to welcome everyone. We have a lot of people connecting, probably a big part to see you, Colton. But, I do want to announce that even though Toby and I are not going to be in the air or on the air next Thursday, we are right now. I didn't even tell him I was going to announce this. He and I have kind of been planning it. I am going to be with him on Sunday night, and it's a one time I get to see him next week. So we are planning a special show on Sunday night. I don't know if we're going to sit down, set up all the production stuff and do it, or we are going to just do it off a phone or what. So if you got some free time on Sunday evening, probably somewhere around 8:30, 9 o'clock Eastern, I'm not sure when we get settled in there. There'll probably be some brown water going, and we were going to do a special, maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm not sure, but we are going to get together and do it. It's kind of our way. We feel like we have to do something because we're going to miss Thursday night. So be sure to tune in, keep an eye on the Facebook page, Twitter, and all of our outlets to get up on that. But yeah, so we talked about, of course, sponsored by you, Colton, and Listen on Fight Company. You want to text your show, 512-361-1178 if you have questions for Colton or me or want to bring up topics. And, of course, all of you in the chat room on the Facebook side of the house can always type questions and ask things there, too. I want to welcome all of you for bringing us into your homes tonight and into your ears and on your screens and everything else. So with no further ado, I want to kind of get into it. Colton, it's been a whirlwind of news lately, and before I want to get into that, I want to make sure, because we didn't get a chance to plan beforehand or talk much, but is there any topic or any big announcement? I don't know if you're going on Colbert anytime soon, and maybe you have an announcement there you want to do, but is there anything like that you want to hit on right up front before we start drilling into a variety of topics?
Now, personally, I'm always busy, obviously, with the business, with being an active duty soldier. Travel, fighting, training, coaching. One of the major things I'm doing right now is youth wrestling coach. My boys' team. I'm coaching the little kids, and it's been an amazing experience coaching them. I've been coaching adults for a long time, and coaching your own children is very difficult. I have a 6-year-old, 9-year-old boys, and they're fireballs. It's wrestling season. Wrestling gives me so much in life, and training little kids. I'm telling you, it is 100% hurting cats, but down to the root of it, down to the core, even getting primal with it, I understand what I'm doing for society. Raising these kids up in the wrestling room is so important. For me, for my upbringing, I don't know where I'd be if it wasn't for wrestling and my mother putting me in wrestling at a young age. So I'm excited. A lot of my time is being immersed into that right now, and still obviously training, fighting, making myself better in every aspect of life. And that's what I'm going after, man. I'm kind of on that David Goggins trip, man. I've been getting hooked on David Goggins and listening to him and Joe Rogan and some of the other podcasts that Goggins has been on. And listening to that guy talk, man, I'm telling you, it's just a lot of people look at him like, oh, he's stupid. He just goes out there and trains like a madman, but it's because he's a physical specimen and he has genetic freak. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but lately I've been pretty motivated by, I don't get motivated by too many people. There's only a few people on this earth that I really look towards like, wow, I really want to emulate that person. Tim Kennedy's one of them. I can't even name a second one. But David Goggins is definitely one of those guys. His story, if you guys don't know who David Goggins is, check him out. And Joe Rogan, get me on the podcast, man. It's time.
Yeah, you're proving yourself. You have the chops, man. You can do it. If you can co-host this show, you can be on Rogan, and you're not going to smoke dope on his show either, like some losers do.
Definitely not.
But no, I mean, that's you brought up a good point. Youth coach is phenomenal. People have known me for a while, know me personally. I've been coaching hockey for years. My sons don't even play anymore, and I continue to coach. It is a big sacrifice. and it takes up a lot of time, especially when you got a lot going on. It's one more thing you got to rush out of the house for and go do this and do that. It's when it's your kids are involved, it's definitely someone's got to take them. Of course, if you're the coach, the mama appreciates that. She doesn't have to take them because she knows you have to take them. But you're right, it's herding cats. I coached as young as 4 and 5 year olds playing hockey, go all the way up to where I'm at now. I've been the last few years 13, 14 year olds. But it's so rewarding, isn't it? So to see, I relate them to like with balls of like Play-Doh or clay when you start the season or start the whatever, right? They can't figure, and whether it's hockey that has a lot of complex rules or even wrestling, which has a lot of complex movements and techniques and tactics and stuff. It's just to see that light bulb turn on partway through the season or whatever. And you're like, they get it. It's all worth it. I did my job here. Or at the end of the season when they give you a big hug and they had fun, right? They learned something. They're better than they were. Like the 3 things I always hit on my hockey teams are, right? That's the goal of every year. And you had parents come up to you say it was the best experience they ever had. Their kids loved it. They've seen it. Isn't that the reward right there?
100%. And again, I think being a state champion and winning matches, that's a byproduct of what's going to happen. But the main thing we're looking at doing is making functioning members of society. These kids aren't going to grow up like what we're seeing nowadays. Kids are going to grow up with a work ethic, with intestinal fortitude, and with a backbone, man. I'm not easy on these kids. I'm not a tyrant by any means, but I hold them to the standard. And my boys, obviously, I hold them to a little higher standard because I can get away with it. I'm their parent. In that wrestling room when that door's shut, I'm coach, but dad's still in me, and I'm still going to make sure I set an example with them, so the rest of the parents know I'm not picking on their kids. But no, it's been great. It's been a phenomenal experience. It's grew me as an instructor. It's grew me as a wrestler, I believe. Getting back to the basics, and I think that's gonna, it's gonna definitely cross-pollinate into my jiu-jitsu, into my instruction in jiu-jitsu and combatives in the Army as an instructor. It's just going to make me that much more well-rounded in every aspect of life.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned it to kind of round you out or grew you as an instructor, because when you're dealing with soldiers, you can do knife hand, right? You can drop maybe some F-bombs. You can drop them for push-ups, do whatever, and it kind of has to smooth you over a little bit with your kids. It doesn't go well when you start dropping F-bombs to kids doing this. They just mom's going to be on you, dad's going to be on you before you get out of the arena there, but. You have to find a new way to get the message across. You have to, soften it. You have to, you got to worry about the person you're coaching, like having an emotional moment and start crying on you. And then, so it is, I agree. It does round you out, and it does give you a different approach, a way to approach. Because in the Army, it's too easy. Look, you're doing it my way, this way, I'm smoking you, and they don't get much of a vote. In this one, they absolutely do. And the last thing you want to do is make a little kid cry. Or more so, have a parent breathing down your neck in a heartbeat for making their kid cry. Even if their kid maybe deserved it, maybe they need a little bit of backbone themselves, but they don't always want to see that. So yeah, that's a good point. It does teach you how to maybe hit them from the flanks versus take it dead on like we do in the military, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, so. It's funny, John Kaiser mentions, it's great coaching kids. It's awesome. The parents, not so much. Hey, there's a reason why they're called hockey moms. I can tell you that. And, I coach house hockey, and I when I used to head coach, I tell my parents every year at the start of the season, parent meeting, look, your kid's going to have a better chance of owning an NHL team than ever playing on one. We're here to have fun. You don't have to scream over the ice. You don't say take their head off. These kids are at whatever age, 10, 12 years old. It's like those are other little kids out there. The refs are kids too, for goodness sake. Just let your kid have fun, right? I don't know how it is in wrestling. I don't think it's that intense in wrestling. I'm not sure. I haven't wrestled since I was real little.
It's where I come from in Iowa. It's from a young age. You are immersed into this just world of hardcore wrestling. And you talk about primal. It gets primal there in the Iowa wrestling at a young age. And obviously it's changed as the world's changed and everything else has changed in life. But I just it's just one of those things, man. Get your kids in sports. I don't care if they're good. I don't care if they're ever going to be on varsity. I don't care if they just ride the bench for their whole career. Get them in sports. Get them immersed into something that fuels them, that gives them the ability to let out some aggression. I mean,
get them off this device, get them off the Fortnite, right? You're not going to get interpersonal skills, you're not going to get social and conflict resolution and all those social skills which are vital to leading a successful life. Really, a lot of it starts with sports or scouts or some kind of extracurricular activity besides just sitting in a classroom and then coming home and getting screen time every night, right? That's a good point. Let them try different sports, right? That's why we do that at young intramural sports or instruments and band or whatever, right? Try different things, see what clicks for you, It's
and my mom's listening in right now, and I almost guarantee she is. She's one of my biggest fans, my mother. But it's because of her, single mom. She raised me. She threw me in sports, did everything she could to make sure that I had the cleats and everything else for every sport I was in. But I'll tell you what, if I started a season, I wasn't quitting. She was right there. If I wanted to quit or if I was slacking or like that, my mom would be the one, whooping my ass on the sidelines, telling me to get my ass back in there or not throwing a fit when I was arrested.
Mom was going knife hand on you. She probably could do that.
My mom's, she's no joke. She's a tough cookie, former bodybuilder, and there's an Army article out recently on me. I haven't posted it yet, but AUSA did an article on me, and in there it said my mom was a former fighter and a bodybuilder, but they didn't say that she was a fighter in every bar and every. My mom would fight anywhere, and she still probably will, right, Mom? I know you're listening. So, no, again, I was blessed to have a tough upbringing. But when I say tough, my mother just held me to the grindstone.
Yeah, to a standard, right?
Held me accountable. We lived. We had some trials and tribulations, but made me who I am today.
Yeah. Well, there you go, everybody. This is Stu and the Nunn you're tuned into, and we talk about all kind of stuff. So for the first 10 minutes or so, we're talking about youth sports, coaching, and the benefits of such a thing. So you never know what you're going to get when you tune in here. So no, that's good stuff. And Colton, that's. You said something earlier. I lost track of it. We've been talking for a while, but you said something earlier that made me think, that's going to be a great segue into a topic I want to talk about. But I totally lost track. I know it was some current topic. I'm like, I'm going to use that one. But anyways, we'll get past that. It'll probably pop to my head to the end of the show. But yeah, it is. It's been a crazy week. I mean, you are in around the head of our government, the seat of our government, and in and around the DC area. Of course, that's government employees, right? Contractors, employees, no matter what they are, military, all that stuff. This government shutdown now setting a record, 27 days. I think we're into it. It is. I was just in. In fact, I didn't get a chance to link up with you because I was in and out of DC like really quick the last day or so, and it was just full of meetings. But in there, I can tell you, talking to some folks, I went and visited a few government agencies. Definitely notice a difference on people not being there. I can tell you the one good side for anyone that has been around DC or been there is that traffic's a lot better right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I definitely heard that on the radio this morning. Somebody called in to one of the radio stations local. It was like 5 a.m. and I'm heading in, and someone's like, "Yeah, there's minimal traffic. It's great." Like they're asking people, "What do you think about the government shutdown?" And then this guy got on there, and he wasn't very refined in his approach, but he kind of brought up a somewhat valid point, right? So this guy gets on there and he said, "Oh, cool. All these government workers are furloughed right now, or they're government shutdown. Well, what happens when a bunch of carpenters get laid off, or a bunch of workers at different jobs get laid off? Who cares? Is it on the radio? No, it's not on the radio." This guy just goes on this tangent. And to a certain extent, I kind of understand where he's coming from. I kind of, we think back on it, we're pretty numb to that. We find out our neighbor got laid off. Oh, that sucks, bro. Then you keep moving on through life, or, so-and-so's boyfriend and all his crew got laid off.
Auto plant shuts down, or miners get laid off, or, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks. It doesn't obviously take over the news. And again, I'm not picking a position left or right or whatever side of the aisle or whatnot in this right now. Obviously, it's a terrible situation. It's one of those things where when you have a government job, for the most part, you feel like you're going to be sustained and taken care of, and it's a low risk job in terms of losing your job once you are a government employee, whether you're a contractor, you're a GS civilian, or you're in the Coast Guard. That's something you don't necessarily ever feel like it's ever going to happen. There's always a threat of it, but you rarely ever going to experience what we're experiencing right now. With that being said, I understand. I understand both arguments. It's a tough situation, tough time. However, it boils down to, the wall and how long, the GOP or the president's going to stick with his guns as far as holding the left side to the fire on this. Again, not choosing one side or the other, just pointing the facts out. There is a problem. There is an epidemic of sorts when it comes to the statistics that have been shown of what comes across that border.
Yeah,
I've been blessed to visit the border. I was blessed to hang out with the agents down there, the Border Patrol agents, and some of their chain of command, some of the guys on the ground, some of the guys doing surveillance. I was very blessed to see this literally on the ground in one of the pretty rough spots. It used to be a really rough spot along the border that didn't used to have reinforced fencing right there in El Paso. And seeing what the Border Patrol does, the service they provide, and understanding the importance of having a barrier there for their safety. Again, you're not going to necessarily stop everybody coming over. However, you are definitely going to slow down the numbers of people coming over. I mean, it's simple knowledge.
It's physics, right? That's why every compound. That's why there's walls around government protected buildings and residences when people want them and all that stuff. It is a barrier, right? That's going to keep people out. Listen, people really want in, they're going to find a way in, right? There's a saying: locks only keep honest people out. Somebody walks by and they check your door and it's locked. They're like, I'll go find another car to break into. They find one that's not locked. They're like, all right, I'll make effort for that. If someone really wants to come over that wall or cut through that wall or do something, they're going to find a way, but it's probably going to deter a big bunch of them, especially if there wasn't one at all, right? And for someone to call it immoral, for someone to call it this, is just so hypocritical for someone to say it's anything but that when you can look around anywhere in our country and find essentially that around everything. I mean, we even put them around cemeteries to protect cemeteries from being vandalized. There's things. I mean, it's whether it's a fence or a wall or whatever. It's just to act like it's anything that, and to not even want to. I think what people are getting upset about, about 80% of the left is supportive of Nancy Pelosi and her stance. About 80% of the hard right is supportive of the president and saying, look, hold your ground. Both. I mean, I think they both have kind of a majority that's telling them to hold their ground. But what I think a majority of America, regardless of what side they sit on, is frustrated is there's not even an attempt to compromise, right? There's not a we heard it last week when the president did meet with them and he walked in and said, hey, what if I turned on everything in the funding and we did that within 30 days? What would I have? Would I have the wall in 30 days? And when Nancy Pelosi said, absolutely not, no, none at all, that's when he said, okay, I'm out of here. There's nothing to talk about. I get it. There's nothing. I mean, it was kind of his chance. He goes, what if I did? If I turned it on now so we get funding going, can you promise me within 30 days we would get something? She couldn't even lie to him and say, yeah, we'll work it out, or, yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. She was like, no, absolutely not. Okay, then I guess we're done talking here. And that's what I think America's upset about, right? You won't even, and then, the president, whether it's for semantics or whatever, he stayed there during the White House at Christmas. Not that that's not a bad place to hang out either, even if you're there. And he wasn't by himself. We know that. There was a ton of people there with him. But, whether he's there or he didn't go to Puerto Rico for that big thing or anything else. Whether he's really meaning it or not, it's coming across. The perception is that at least he's trying. He's staying, or he wants to keep working. And and that was kind of his talking point today when he did the plane cancellation, less than an hour left, was you should probably stay here in the country and keep trying to work this out. He knows how to do a narrative. He knows how to send a message and how to win people over. And I think he's doing a pretty good job with that. At least he's acting like he wants to work things out.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you see it. You see it obviously, and I'll watch every news channel. Doesn't matter if it's Fox News, if it's CNN, MSNBC, whatever, and I'll get the take, from each side of the aisle, far left, far right, and in between, and kind of see. But yeah, bottom line, it's hard to make the argument that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are coming to the table with anything. And the president, like you said, whether it be for semantics or whether it be just to stick it back to Nancy Pelosi for sending the letter saying that she recommends the State of the Union address is postponed until after the government shutdown. Well, the president comes back and says, well, then your Afghanistan trip needs to be postponed as well. And he did bring up a good point. We're in a position right now where both sides of the aisle are up in arms over the government shutdown and the workers that are affected. And again, I have 100% sympathy for those families affected, because right now they probably feel like they're in some ways a political pawn.
Right. Caught in the middle. Yeah.
So I completely understand, the president's thoughts about, how are you going to go overseas for a trip that's unrelated to the government shutdown and to the border wall, whether you're, for it, against it, whatever. And you're going to go overseas for a week while this is happening, when technically speaking, you're talking about your constituents and whoever's affected by this that you care, deeply about. So I completely understand that they need to stay in Washington. Anybody that's a decision maker needs to stay in Washington. They get paid six figures for a reason. They do 2 years in Congress and they get a full salary, a full retirement. We do 20 years in the military, we get 50% if we're lucky.
Yeah, full medical for life, the whole shoot match. Yeah,
you got to think about that. We're not making those six figures either. But no, that's neither here nor there. I completely understand where the president's come from. Obviously, he's my commander in chief. Obviously, I'll never say an ill word against him. Whether it was President Obama, whether it was President Bush, doesn't matter who it was. Obviously, however, I wish that everybody could come to the table and find a resolution, especially for these Coast Guard families and for the families that are affected right now. And this is a wake-up call for America. This is a wake-up call for government workers, wake-up call in terms of being prepared for something like this to happen again, because obviously now that it's happened, there's been a precedent set. Yeah. It's going to happen again, guys. It's going to happen in the next administration, whether that's 6 years from now, whether that's 2 years from now. It's bound to happen again, especially when you're utilizing executive authority for things like this. And I feel like whether it's warranted or not, whatever your thoughts are on it, you need to be prepared for something like this to happen. And government employment is no longer one of those safeguards where you're going to sit in it and you're just going to be like, oh, cool, I'm in a job, I'm a GS9, I'm just going to hang out here until 30-year retirement, and I got my cushy chair in the Pentagon or wherever I'm at. You see too much of it. So,
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it is. Even though I was as a contractor for the Army back when the last one happened, they had continuing resolution, they had unfunded and all that stuff. But and I worked with a couple guys in my office that were, even though some got to go home, the others were mission essential. I was a contractor, so I was paid for. They were mission essential. They had to come in, right? They didn't know at the time whether they were going to get paid back pay or whatever. And of course, a precedent was set then, which has now been happened already, which is that we're going to pay them back. So for the ones that were mission essential, who felt special, realized that they didn't get free vacation because everyone else did. It doesn't count against them, right? Because you're going to get back pay. Now, if it's only a week or two, it's really free vacation. If it goes 30-something days, like you said, if they don't plan for a rainy day like many in the civilian market do, build up a savings, that kind of stuff, then yeah, you're probably caught with your shorts down because you didn't put away maybe a month or two's worth of salary and just park it, right, just in case something ever happened. You never know. Where it's someone in sales or in some kind of commission-based job usually does that because they have feast and famine times. So it's a good point that nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in life. We all know that, right? Tomorrow's not guaranteed for us if the Lord decides it's time to go now. Right. And just because you got a government job isn't guaranteed. And if you are a mission essential person, you're going to be still coming into work and paying for parking and paying tolls and doing everything else, and you're not going to get paid. You will eventually, but so will all the people sitting at home. Who are also not getting paid, but they can at least be an Uber driver or whatever, do something to make the ends meet. But it is a good wake up call for anybody. There's nothing guaranteed, and what kind of gets me is I've heard a number of people comment on radio shows and different things. Like it's funny how the perception from a lot of American people who have never worked around the government or done anything like that consider like government workers like leeches and entitlement. You know what I'm saying? They confront when they are probably themselves getting some kind of entitlement or something like that or some kind of break. But it's how much, they're government workers. It serves them. Who cares? And all this kind of stuff. And like you mentioned earlier, the people working in mines, the people working in manufacturing that maybe get laid off, they don't really get the news coverage like this. But these government workers, that's their job. They provide a service. Hopefully they're doing a good service. And, we definitely know, Colton, you do too. There are definitely people that wake up every day already guilty of fraud, waste, and abuse, that don't really spend the government's money well. But, there's a ton that are. The ton that are checking your ID card when you try to fly through. Those TSA guys. I flew yesterday. I thank them for being there. They didn't do the call-in sick thing and that kind of stuff. They're the ones that are processing your tax returns, the ones that are, doing everything. The Coast Guard. The story yesterday from Tyrus was that, a buddy is in the Coast Guard. He's on Fox all the time. Was that they don't have the manpower. They watch boats coming right in. They didn't have the manpower to chase after boats to just sailed right into the country, came right into port. So no matter what, the drug runners, they don't have the manpower to stop those guys that are running those cigarette boats up from the Caribbean full of drugs coming into, South Florida right now or whatever else it is. So it's sad, though, for those who have never been around the government side that just look at them as leeches. Because then I usually want to say, is the military a leech? Like, what about all those ones serving? What separates them from the FBI agent, from the postal inspector, from whatever else, right? Just they're people they lose perspective.
No, I'm with you on that, definitely. And it's one of those things. It's for depending on what side you're on as far as support for the wall, support for the shutdown. It's a tough time. Nobody wants this to happen. Nobody wants to have all these families that are displaced in terms of having an income coming in right now, and or they're able to send their daughter to speech classes. And again, I've listened to all the interviews and stuff like that. They've had people on all the news stations, on radio stations, and hearing the stories and stuff like that, guys. But bottom line, and people hate this when I say this, but this is first world problems. This is first world problems. I use that term quite a bit because bottom line, a lot of the struggles that we have in this country, a lot of struggles we have right now is first world problems, guys. You go to a third world. I'm not telling you like, oh, I'm a battle hardened veteran. I've been to every, crap hole country in the world. No, I'm not trying to say that, guys. I'm just letting you know, like, those are first world problems. We're going to make it out of there. But part of it comes to, you personally having that intestinal fortitude to deliver for your family. If tomorrow Uncle Sam said, Colton Smith, you're gone. Colton Smith, your wife's business and Dan O'Brien's business is gone. You know what? I'm going to be grinding. I'm going to be picking up pop cans. I'm going to melt those pop cans. I'm going to make metal. I'm going to take the scrapyard. I don't care what's going to happen. My family's going to survive. They're going to survive. They're going to thrive because of America, because of the country we live in that people want to just spit on and say it's the worst thing ever and it's the worst it's ever been. Go to other countries, and I don't care where you go. Go to any other country. I go all over the world.
Go to a modern country in Europe. You're going to see a difference.
100%. I go all over the world. I go to the most beautiful place in the world, the worst place in the world. I've been all over, 30 countries probably. I've been to 30, 40 countries. And I'll tell you what, the same constant. It doesn't matter what country I go to, whether it's a paradise, whether it's a vacation spot, whether it's, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, no matter where I've been. Bottom line is I miss America. I love America. I don't care if it's the Midwest. I don't care if it's Texas. I don't care if it's East Coast, West Coast. I miss America when I'm gone from America. That's just not because I'm some, Midwestern hillbilly that grew up in, central Iowa. That's because I know how amazing our country is compared to other countries. And yes, we're going through some turmoil right now, going through some changes in the world. A lot of the socioeconomical issues we have in America and around the world affects what happens not only in civilian life, but in the government as well. But I believe we're going in the right direction. I believe that some of the hard choices we're making right now is going to set the pace for generations to come. If that means the border wall in your eyes, in my eyes, if that means, if I support the border wall, my family supports the border wall, and that's going to limit the ability for extremists to come across the southern border, then I'm for it. If my children and their children and children after that are going to benefit because of that, or it's going to slow the movement of narcotics or of any kind of drugs or weapons or people that want to do harm to our homeland, then I'm all about it. Suffer now to really. It's kind of like my mantra, man. You grind, no matter what you're doing. You give 110% and then some. And when I'm 60 years old and I'm broken and I'm on the front porch, I know that I gave my every ounce to this life the Lord gave me, and the ability to provide for my family and generation to come. And I wish more people even had like a percentage of that in their mind, in their heart, in their body, and understood their full potential. We wouldn't be where we're at today. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, it's we've talked about it before here on the show. I mean, and myself, being an Army brat, and then myself serving and retiring, and I got taken. I lived outside the country. I've been able to travel with my kids and take them out of the country. I've sent, my kids have all, my couple of my older boys have been student ambassadorships while they were in high school, and got to see what other countries, both third world up to about first world, look like. All of them come back with an appreciation of what we have. You've seen this. I'm preaching to the choir here, but when you come back in, and and I've had this happen. I come back and I feel kind of gluttonous. I feel shamed. I feel like, man, we got it so good. Like I got, when I first came back from Afghanistan, I remember the first month or two, I went back to work. I was flying a lot, and I was still in that mindset, of what real despair looks like, right? What really matters, what's important is about. And I remember getting back, and I was on a flight, and someone got up, we're up in the air in a steel tube at 35,000 feet, and they're like raising Cain with the flight attendant because the Wi-Fi is not working, right? And I was like, dude, you're in a plane, like you're worried you can't get Wi-Fi, and you're freaking out because you can't get on your phone. And it's like you realize you're like defying gravity, or people, as soon as they land, they're like turning their phones on. They're trying to get their bags. Flight attendants are telling them to sit down, but they're in such a rush. They got to get out. And it was just like, I remember being just frustrated and pissed off at them. Like, you guys don't have an idea. The last time this country hasn't had a first world problem was September 12th, 13th, 14th, probably till about early 2003, probably through 2000 to 2002. That's when this country didn't have first world problems, because when those people were covered in ash and helping each other, and everyone looked the same, and everyone just hugged each other. And if anyone listening or watching, if you were in New York City or even around the Pentagon, but especially in New York, in those months afterwards, where people were walking up and high-fiving and thanking cops, where people kind of looked at each other and nodded, that's when no one cared about what was on TV, or who was on the idiot box talking, or because none of that stuff mattered. That's when you don't have first world problems. When, if something happens, you can ignore it. That's a first world problem. That's my definition of how I classify it. If something happens and I worry about where my family is, if they're okay, if the ones I care about are all right, if we're gonna, are we just gonna be in despair? Are we missing something, like our house burnt down or something? That's everything else doesn't matter. That's a first world problem. So if you're wondering how to figure out what it is, there you go. But it's been since then, and it takes a shock on our country for us to kind of put everything in pause and put everything in perspective. And I say that, I don't mean that, and nobody does. You've met them, people like I do, Colton, that we meet people, whether in Ohio or Colorado or Washington State or wherever, Texas and New York even, that are really good people that care about this country, that don't follow and believe everything on the box, that make up their own minds. I talk with a lot of folks that are left and right that really are in the middle, and I sometimes I walk away going, why can't everyone think like that? Why does everyone why does the media portray everyone as being, if you're a liberal or you're on the left and you're a Cuomo lover and a Pelosi's the greatest thing. So I meet a lot of folks that aren't that way, just like I know a lot of people on the right that that are Republicans, that are card-carrying Republicans, that don't like what President Trump says or does, or doesn't like what Lindsey Graham says or does. You don't have to. We're allowed to have free thought, right? That's where the freedoms that makes this country what this country is. That's why all these people are trying to come into the country. No one's trying to go to Mexico. Everyone's trying to come in. They want those freedoms of expression, the freedoms of press, the freedom to do what they want without fear of retribution for talking bad about somebody or something like that. That's what makes this country as awesome as it is. Anyways, we kind of ranting there, but yeah. So we talked about the plane. We talked about that. I don't know. It's the president is playing it right. I mean, he's definitely his letter of, hey, because you kind of brought up, without saying it, because you brought up the security concerns over the State of the Union. Well, we got those same security concerns. You probably shouldn't be flying. And then he canceled his finance secretary from going to Davos, from the big financial summit. So he's taking that one on the chin too. It's like, I'm canceling that trip too. It's good for the goose, is good for the gander. So we'll see how this turns out. But I think the American people, I think I'm going to say, go on a limb and say 75 to 80% of the American people, regardless of where they stand in politics, just want these folks to do something. right? They want the Coast Guard to get paid. They want people to get paid. They want families to be able to survive and provide for themselves, and so on and so forth. And whether they're going to give $3 billion and he's going to turn on part of the government, I don't think people care. They just want to see him trying. But right now it's like, two squabbling kids, that just won't even work it out.
I'm tracking. They just need to come to the table. They need to talk it out and come to some form of resolution for the American people. And that's kind of lost on a lot of people, I believe, is you get to a certain level. I'm not talking about just in politics, but in business and in all facets of life. And you kind of get desensitized to what the average American is feeling, dealing with, what they're looking for in their leadership and their trust in their leadership, and understanding what as a politician, what your constituents are feeling, and not just your constituents, but everyone, obviously in America as well. So, yeah, it's a tough time we live in right now, and I really hope, I pray there's a resolution soon that can benefit everybody involved. It's obviously, there's gonna be some hurt feelings, one way or the other, whether you're left or right, doesn't matter. There's gonna be some hurt feelings, obviously, but hopefully we can find a middle road, middle ground, and some resolution, and people will come to the table, be adults about it, and talk it out. If not, we can throw some gloves on, let them duke it out.
Yeah, there we go. That's it. Go to the ring, or get the pugil sticks. Even go back, take it old school. I don't know if they still do that in Army. Do they still do pugil sticks?
No. I think for the most part we just do combatives now,
That's
which
true.
Is,
yeah. It's those were fun though. Those were fun.
Or anything, so I'm not sure if maybe they went back to pugil sticks, but I'm pretty sure they just go straight to combatives now.
That's right. Just lose the soft stuff. Just go right to the combatives. Hey, another thing I want to bring up, which was big news this last week, which was this young Jamie Kloss, this young girl, 13, who was escaped from her captor after like 3 or 4 months, and was able to get away and found alive, and hopefully will be able to lead a productive life and good life one day. I just want to bring that up because it's pretty big news, and I think it was news for a minute, and then it went on to something else. But I say it's big news, not that I've been affected by this personally or know anyone really has been affected by this, but obviously there's lots of missing children out there. There's a lot of kids that get kidnapped and or just murdered, and their bodies dumped, and parents don't know. And I think it's pretty great that she was able to escape and all that stuff, and that she was still alive. But I think it serves as a great hope and inspiration for those that are missing someone, that there is a chance, right? When you just keep seeing bodies turn up, and they think, and someone goes on for a month or two, and you think there's no way. And I just think, I just want to just recognize that's for anyone that's listening or watches this even after the fact. If you have a personal connection or something like that, I hope it gives families a hope and inspiration that miracles do happen, that the worst doesn't always happen. It sometimes is portrayed, and even though she may come back pretty physically banged up and tormented, and definitely emotionally tormented, at least she's still alive, right? Like somebody goes to combat, maybe suffers a severe amputation, they lose a leg or two or arms or whatever, eyesight, but at least they're still alive, and they can recover from it. So I think it's big news that the media and everyone kind of just glossed over. Like, this girl was missing for 4 months.
Yeah, no. So there was one. So Jamie, obviously, I saw her story as well, and as soon as her story hit, there's a boy in Florida. I believe he was 15 years old when he disappeared. Two boys, I believe, in Florida, and he's 15 years old. He disappeared. A year later, they found him. They found him in a trailer. He got lured into from some gaming site, guys. So parents, pay attention. Some gaming site lured this kid in. As a female, a woman lured him in. And they got him to come to this trailer. Basically, they tied him up, fed his mind with all kinds of crazy ideologies, and unfortunately, and they prostituted this young boy. I tell you, he's 16 years old. They found him in the trailer. They served a warrant to the trailer. They found him, and they arrested this whole ring of adult males that were had some form of part in not only kidnapping this boy, but also using him for their personal gain and pleasure, unfortunately, which is absolutely repulsive and disgusting. And I am, I'm thankful that the young boy's alive. I think there's 2 boys actually in the story. I believe they're 16 and 17, both alive. They found them, given them medical attention. and there's going to be justice served for these individuals that have done these sick, heinous crimes. And hopefully that gives even an inkling, a percentage, a small decimal of again, hope for other families that are going through the same thing, and also for the families that were affected by those missing boys.
Yeah.
And parents, man, pay attention to what your kids are on. I'm not trying to lecture anybody by any means, but look at their iPads. There's enough apps out there where you can track everything everybody they're talking to, everything they're doing. And you want to trust your children, but there's people out there who want to do harm to your children as well. So be smart, and understand that there are threats out there, no matter where you're at, no matter where you live, especially online. Online is all over the world, obviously, so there's no boundaries there.
Yeah, my wife told me about that story the other day. She mentioned it to me if I'd heard about it, and that it was come from this gaming app and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the stuff that's been happening for years. It's just the techniques have changed because there's new ways for them to do it, right? So the old way was, hey, little kid, want some candy, or I came to pick you up, or want to see my puppies or whatever. Now they just get you on a game and talk you into to whatever and lure you away. But human trafficking is not a third world only problem, and as you just described, it's not only a female problem. I mean, there are males that are kidnapped and human trafficked just as much as females are. So it's not like, well, I have a son, he's good, he'll be able to fight him off and defend himself. Really, your 110-pound, 150-pound son is gonna fight off a grown man or two, especially if they have a weapon? No. Do your best to train them. Maybe get them in wrestling, right? Teach them some moves, teach them some combatives, but more importantly, teach them how to recognize risky areas and situations, and just kind of teach them, if you can, some situation awareness and how to realize that when it doesn't sound, feel, or look right, to say something or do something different. But yeah, it's definitely a big problem. It happens a lot all over the place. You don't hear about it because the news just doesn't happen to cover it, right? But it doesn't mean it's not going on. It affects a lot of folks. But yeah. Well, we got a lot of folks in the chat. I see, Colton, you were just threatening people, which I love. That's awesome. We don't really get to do that much. And that's all good. But no, it's we'll have to see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the news. Of course, the president stuff today really captured a lot. But did you see something about this whole 10-year challenge? Did you do the 10-year challenge, Colton, on the whole Facebook thing?
If you go to my Facebook page, I did do a 10-year challenge. I did I had an overweight man with a VW sign around his neck that I lost a bet about 7 years ago, and I had to make it my profile picture. So I picked that one, and then I got another photo of myself, my favorite photo, because it's what I aspire to be upon retirement. I had a mullet. I had
that's a good one. I love that one. Yeah.
Little strap there. I had some knuckle gloves with spikes on them. I was drinking a Budweiser, and I think I had a Harley Davidson bandana on. And what you couldn't see in the photo, which was absolutely epic, was I had some black denim cut off jorts, and they were all frayed. And
that's hot. That's hot.
Screams America with a wife beater on, and I had a American flag 6-pack belt on. He fit a 6-pack of a Busch Light, Iowa water. So that was my 10-year challenge. So no, I did not partake in the 10-year challenge.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't know if you saw, but there's been a lot of whether it's conspiracy theory or there could be some fact behind it. It was just Facebook's way to get their facial recognition software tuned up and tweaked. There's been a lot, some post on it, and there could be something behind it of, and it kind of makes sense. Like you show your picture of 10 years ago, roughly, give or take, and now, and it lets them kind of, fine tune their algorithms and that kind of stuff to do their facial recognition.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw people talking about, the FBI and CIA, NSA are coming after you.
I ain't worried about them. I'm worried about Facebook. I'm a government contractor. I've got clearances. The government already knows all my stuff. It's last thing I want to do is put my picture up there, and all of a sudden, Facebook's advertising like, Rogaine for me or something because, whatever. Are they going to take something and be like some beard cream or something because they took my picture? If that starts happening, I may have to start believing some of those sites. But I did see it, and it kind of made sense. I don't know. But
Hey, I'm telling you, I don't care who you are, anybody listening right now. I guarantee you've had a conversation where your phone's within reach or your device is within reach, where the microphone could be on, and you're talking about some. How about right here? How about some fancy socks? Right, you're talking about
Mm.
socks. And right now, I'm talking about socks. I
Good.
guarantee you, I get off this feed, I start scrolling on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and there's gonna be a effing sock ad on there. Um, and yeah, no, so that's real. I think you're definitely onto something. I don't feel it's necessarily ill will by any means. If you're doing something shady or nefarious, maybe you shouldn't be on Facebook in the first place. So if you're that paranoid,
That's what Snapchat's for.
you know, is a grinder? Is that what you're on?
No,
Grindr?
no, I don't know. Don't know about that. I'm not that. I Snapchat and Instagram. It's all about the IG. Definitely not that other site.
I started IG.
Now, if you start getting ads on your Facebook for Grinder, we know it's exactly what. You can blame it on the show.
No, I just got on Instagram. I procrastinated. I stayed away from it because social media, unfortunately, is consumed a large part of my life because
It's
of
a
business.
necessary evil for what you do. Yes.
It is very necessary. It is. And people give Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Oh, you're on it. People are on it too much. But I'll tell you what. There's a lot of people I wouldn't be in contact with if it wasn't for Facebook. People that I deployed with, people that I've served with all over the world, that I fought with. So no, there's definitely some benefits to Facebook, but Instagram, I just started it probably, I don't know, 2 months ago. I'm figuring out what the hell it is, how to use it, and yeah, it's clean, it's sleek, it seems like a good platform to utilize. But I've been kind of distancing myself a little bit from Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I'm not on nearly as much as I used to be. I enjoy it. It's definitely something that I need to utilize to stay in contact with certain individuals. But I got too much stuff going on, man.
You got a lot. You got a lot. Let me tell you the secret, man. What we do right here at the show, we have our Instagram, we have Facebook, have Twitter. So we put up a lot of stuff on Instagram. We try to put a lot, especially pictures. As you've seen before, I do a lot of my gym, listed 9 shirt pictures and stuff. But I just put them on Instagram, and I had the connection, so it puts it to Twitter and Facebook for me. I don't have to mess with it. I put it in one place, and it spiders out to the other, so it extends the reach, which is nice. So they all deal with hashtags and all that kind of stuff and @signs. So I go to one place, I go to Instagram, I put it there, and let it carry it everywhere else, and bring in fans and viewers and that kind of stuff. But no, I get you. I've seen it. You're Colton Smith MMA, I think, on everything, right? That's your tagline on all of them.
With MMA, and then my wife and Dan's business is Enlisted 9 Fight Company.
Yep.
Enlisted 9 on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, every social media platform, and yeah, Colt Smith MMA. Check me out. If you guys ever have anything, hit me up. I'm always willing to give my 2 cents about training, about jiu-jitsu, life, army. You might not want to get too much life coaching from me, but I'll give it to you.
Well, I don't know if you or Dan that's doing the Facebook post, but you get some pretty funny memes and pretty funny pics.
Yeah, no, I don't kiss and tell, so I'll just say that
whoever's doing it, good job. Someone from the Enlisted 9 Fight Company conglomerate, great.
Dano and Megan, great job posting on Enlisted on Facebook. It's absolutely hilarious.
I share a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I pass it on. It's good stuff.
Yeah, some of the most fire memes there are on the web right now is on the Enlisted 9 Fight Company. I guarantee you that.
Yeah. Toby just jumped into chat real quick. I just gave a shout out. Thank you for being on. I think he's got a pretty limited connection, so that's awesome. He got on. Yeah. So let me ask you this. I've turned some good buddies of mine that are super anti social media and stuff onto Pinterest. Have you been on Pinterest?
I went on Pinterest for this exercise thing called crossover symmetry. So I had some weird injuries, and they do some weird bands and stuff like that. So crossover symmetry. I'm cheap. I'm very frugal. I don't like to spend a dime. And so if you own crossover symmetry and you want to charge me $300 for your system and your bands and all that stuff, I apologize for telling you I did this. So I found it on Pinterest, and I found all the crossover symmetry workouts. I bought some cheap bands off of I think Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And I do all the crossover symmetry workouts that I found on Pinterest, as opposed to buying the whole system. So yeah. Again, if you own crossover symmetry and for some reason you're watching Stu and the Nunn tonight, I apologize. I'll send you a shirt and an apology for stealing your intellectual property. But my shoulders, feel better. I'm ready to fight again. So
there you
thank you very
go.
much, crossover symmetry and Pinterest. So that is my level of Pinterest is I found some workouts on there. However, my wife uses Pinterest. You know, she's always on there. She is super crafty. She can cook. She can.
Well, that's what I used to think it was, right? When my buddies of mine, they're pretty hardcore, soldier, good infantry dudes who were like, I'm on Pinterest. And I was like, what? And I was like, all I thought was like crafting and yarn and, wedding ideas and that kind of stuff. But I got turned on to it. Let me tell you, that is a best kept secret right there, because I go in there, looking for venison cooking recipes, smoker recipes, that kind of stuff. And once you put in a couple things, it just feeds you stuff all the time. And anything, it's like, oh, here's a new way to make jerky. Here's this. I mean, you can just, any kind of thing. And then I just did one for military memes, like funny memes. It's everything you can imagine, right? Some of the worst, some of the oldest that you've seen a million times, but a lot of new ones. I also have one up for hunting. Just all hunting pictures, deer, great finds, tips on hunting and this and that. But I don't know if you discovered it yet, but it is definitely a treasure trove of info if you set up and look for the right thing. So it's you can definitely put some stuff up there. But yeah, that's a good one. Hey, my wife piped in. She's listening. She texted me, said that gaming site that those boys were on was called Discord, was the gaming site that they were on, that they got sucked away and kidnapped on. And they arrested 7 people, she said, so far. They've arrested 7 folks in that whole thing. So it really comes down to watch and keeping an eye on things. But yeah, just wanted to add that in since we talked about that a little bit ago. But yeah, so you are all over Enlisted 9. You got a lot of things. Anything coming up? Are there any announcements or any new? I mean, of course, you've teamed up with Enlisted 9, teamed up with 9 Line. Of course, that was a big announcement. You guys did that. I think you were out in Vegas when you did that announcement. Are we expect to see new products, new designs? Are they coming out? Are you at home designing new ideas or?
And I'm telling you, so Enlisted 9 Fight Company teamed up with 9 Line, 9 Line Apparel. They're amazing. Another veteran-owned company. So yeah, we teamed up, went out to Vegas, made a big shout out. We were with Jeffrey Earnhardt, in his pit, actually did the shout out there. We are on the verge of developing a lot of products right now. We're about to send that stuff out, guys. So please check us out. Click the shop now, Enlisted 9 Fight Company on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, shop now. There's a link in all of our, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. We have some sick shirts right now, American made, amazing products, guys. Got some awesome, paying homage to Sec Def Mattis shirts. We got all kinds of awesome American type patriotic shirts, Americana, fighting stuff, gym stuff. And we're really going to push deep into jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts, boxing, combat sports this year. We're really going to separate ourselves from some of the other veteran clothing companies in terms of really honing in on, what we believe in as far as, Americana and just pro-military, pro-America, and pro-fighting. That's who we are. Enlisted 9 stands for Enlisted 9 ranks the military. The one, the blue-collar types, so the rubber meets the road, the guys kicking indoors and winning wars. And guys, listen, it's a fight company. It doesn't matter if you fight, doesn't matter if you serve. What do you fight for? Do you fight for your family? Are you a blue-collar factory worker? Are you a white-collar guy in an office, but you grind for your family? That's the kind of fighter we want representing our brand. That's who we are, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, all the way.
Yeah, you had some great designs before, and I wish probably you aren't able to reuse those or whatever, I'm sure, which is a shame because there's one of my favorites is the All the Way to Heaven shirt. I love that shirt. I've seen a number of people at church that wearing it. I don't know if they know the meaning of it, but I more so than that, I love educating on what that means, what the GW flag is about, and the history behind it. And that's a great example. Whether it's a shirt like I'm wearing now, of your older designs, it's very, Second Amendment and kind of a heavy shirt, or something like that, which reverts back to the original warships that George Washington commissioned. There's just history lessons in a t-shirt, right? If you know what's behind it and that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to some of your new stuff coming out and some of the stuff you guys have out now. But you're right. You've got to set yourself apart. There's a handful, I would say a handful, a half dozen or so of pretty popular t-shirt companies, military themed t-shirt companies out there. I think the cross sword, cross rifle, skull, kill them all, God sort them out kind of stuff has probably wore itself out. But there's some good, innovative, funny designs and things like that. Like I say, it's not just military, it's pro-American. pro fighting, pro thin red line, thin blue line, for our first responders, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really excited to see and be wearing pretty soon some of those new designs. But I got to keep representing for now as it is. But yeah, it's so definitely check it out. Listen, Nine Fight Company, and check it. And on your page, you guys put up a lot of great stuff. And for anyone that's connected to you personally, and I think on your personal page, of course, you put up a lot of good motivational. You're out running in the snow, you're ruck marching, you're doing stuff. You serve as an inspiration for those that kind of, whether it's they're still in or they've never served or whatever, sitting back on the couch to say, hey, keep at it, keep pushing at it. You want to be on this rock for a while. You got to stay in the right shape, So, yeah. Anything else? I don't want to keep you too long. We're at the top of the hour. We talked about a number of things. So I just want to real quick. Joanne, you're talking about your son plays that game. Yeah, so if you go back, you can find it. But just Google Discord and the boys that were kidnapped, and they found them down in Florida. So if you do that, you'll find the story where they just recovered those boys, but they lured them away and kidnapped them via talking to the kids on that game. So just want a real quick PSA for that. But yeah, Colton, anything else you want to just bring up before I let you go and let our listeners and viewers go for the night?
Man, I just want to impart, right now we're going through some turmoil as a world, as a country, and I just want you guys to understand the nature of what's going on here, and how much more severe the situation could be in your life and people around you's life and the world's life, as far as these being first world problems. We talked about it previously as well. Just grind, guys. Get out there, try to make the best of every situation you're in, no matter what cards you're dealt, no matter what you're going through in life, guys. Keep pushing on. And, I'm just trying to be as honest as possible when it comes to getting out there. I've never had anything handed to me on a silver platter by any means, but through hard work, dedication, sweat equity, and being PME hard, physically, mentally, emotionally hard, I continue to excel and achieve my goals, short-term, long-term, mid-term goals. So please, guys, get out there. Don't have that victim mentality. Blaze a trail for yourself and for all the generations to come. I love you guys. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Colt Smith MMA. I'm the Nunn Fight Company. Check us out. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Colton. Thanks for coming on, filling in for Toby tonight. You did an awesome job. You are welcome back anytime. Absolutely, whenever you can make it. Not only as a guest, as we've had you a number of times, but also to fill in. You more than have enough part of this show. Again, thank you for sponsoring the show. We really appreciate Listen Night Fight Company being behind us and helping us bring this message and bring our guest out and everything else. And everyone, thank you for bringing us into your homes tonight and tuning in. Be sure and check us out. Again, if you missed the start of the show, I'll tell you now, we are not going to be on next Thursday. Toby and I are both traveling. But if you tune in, pay attention, make sure you like our Facebook page at Stu and the Nunn, and all of our other stuff, Twitter, Instagram. But we will be coming on Sunday night. At some point Sunday night, maybe just a half an hour, but around probably somewhere between the 8 and 9 o'clock time frame, Eastern time. We will be on, Toby and I, together for a short stint. May have a guest, may not. We're kind of working some stuff, but we will be together in the Southern studio, and tune in then. And then after that, the following week, of course, we're back on our regular Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, here on Stu and the Nunn. Colton, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Everyone else, thank you. And I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. And a Listen 9 Fight Company. Like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.